between them dressing the same, making similar music, and both being British, it would not be unreasonable to think that Dexndre is just a clone of Scarlxrd. So we all know Scarlxrd as this British trap metal artist who has a great sense of fashion. Scarlxrd has been really into the techwear scene for quite some time, and I feel like him wearing techwear really kind of goes well with his trap metal music. Now over the past couple years, between his first album and his newest, there is a little bit of a difference. You will notice that originally he was a little bit more singy with still the trap metal aggression behind it. Whereas in his newest album, it's pretty much just him screaming. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just interesting to kind of see this overall evolution of Scarlxrd. Now, a little while back, I found this guy, Dexndre, also known as Mick Dexndre. He kind of blew up on TikTok for being that guy who looks like Scarlxrd, who dresses like Scarlxrd, and who's really into techwear. And kind of the whole theme of his TikTok was him just showing off his outfits, which, I mean, techwear I think is pretty cool. It looks nice. He fits it well together. He knows what he's doing when it comes to, well, techwear. And what he kind of had done is he took his following on TikTok, move them over a little bit to Instagram, and then kind of move those people over to his YouTube channel, which he has started to grow a little bit. And earlier this year in 2020, he decided to start releasing music. He only has a total of 7 songs released, one of them actually coming out yesterday, and his most popular song on Spotify still having less than 6,000 plays. Now, if you look at a picture of Dexndre next to a picture of Scarlxrd, you might look at that and think, hey, Dexndre kind of looks like he's copying Scarlxrd. Both of them are black British trap metal artists who wear techwear. Now, at first glance, it is not unreasonable to say that Dexndre is just a copy of Scarlxrd. Scarlxrd has a very unique sound and style in his music and in the way that he dresses. He's created this whole brand for himself in the way that he looks and the way that he sounds. Now, with Dexndre starting to make trap metal, kind of having that same persona type feel that Scarlxrd has, you would kind of look at that and be like, hey, he's kind of just copying Scarlxrd. However, I don't think that he's necessarily copying. This isn't an Icy Narco Little Pump situation. This is more of a Tokyo's Revenge XXXTentacion situation, where I feel like Dexndre is getting inspiration from Scarlxrd. I don't think he's necessarily copying him in every single way possible. Now, I do not know for certain whether or not he's always been into techwear, or if Scarlxrd got him into that. But regardless, techwear is not a Scarlxrd specific thing. Scarlxrd has just kind of made that part of his whole persona. Now, techwear definitely is a niche item, but there is a decent sized market for it. But the argument can be made that when you first look at them side by side, you're like, oh, they dress the same, kind of look the same, you get a little bit deeper, you're like, yeah, they're both British. You get just a little bit deeper, you realize they both make trap metal music. Now, the biggest difference between Dexndre and Scarlxrd is that Scarlxrd has had time to build up a massive audience and has kind of better created his music and kind of gotten really deep into the exact type of music he wants to make and the type of music that people enjoy listening to. Now, in the case of Dexndre, he only has 7 songs. Now, while it does sound like Scarlxrd's music, I will give you that because they're both trap metal artists. Biggest differentiating factor is that Dexndre sounds British when he raps. Even in Scarlxrd's first album, where he was a little bit more mellowed out, you could kind of tell that he was trying to rap in a more quote-unquote American accent. Now, while in some songs of Scarlxrd you can tell that he's British, Dexndre, on the other hand, has a pretty heavy British accent when he raps. If you show somebody Scarlxrd's music for the first time, they're probably not going to know that he's British. Well, with Dexndre, you're probably able to figure it out pretty quickly. Now, with how new Dexndre is to making music, there is no doubt in my mind that he got inspiration from Scarlxrd. And I mean, a lot of artists start to do that when they start creating music. They get inspiration from their favorite artists, kind of make music that kind of sounds like them, and then after a year, maybe 2 years, after a couple albums, maybe sooner, maybe a little bit later, they start to kind of craft their own sound and their own creative processes for how they make their music. Now, with Dexndre being such a new artist, I would not at all be surprised if by the end of this year, maybe the end of next year, if he's able to kind of create and craft his whole entire own sound, where he will get to a point where there will be no question on whether or not he is a copy of Scarlxrd. Now, I feel like people saying that these artists that are coming up are just copies of previous artists, I feel like kind of takes away from the whole point of music. Pretty much every artist you listen to and pretty much every artist that has blown up or gotten famous or made any music whatsoever has gotten inspiration from other rappers. And it is not uncommon for the first few songs of any artist to sound similar to other artists. It usually takes a decent amount of time for artists to kind of create their own sound, their own persona, and their own kind of culture and their own cult following around their music. Now, is Dexndre an exact copy? Is he a clone of Scarlxrd? I would say no. Even though there are multiple similarities between them, the biggest difference between them that I've noticed is the way that they became famous is number one, and then number two, there is a difference in their music. Now with Dexndre, you can definitely tell that he is British, and that is probably the biggest differentiating factor. To the untrained music listener, they might not be able to differentiate between the two artists, but if you spent any time at all listening to Scarlxrd, you will be able to tell that Dexndre makes music that is different but similar to Scarlxrd's. Now even though he is still a very small unknown rapper, he definitely does already have a following on other social media platforms, which I feel like kind of does give him a little bit of a leg up, because I know that there are going to be other people like me that started following him on social media for his techwear type fits, and you know, a little bit because he does kind of look like Scarlxrd, and chances are that people who listen to Scarlxrd are at some point going to discover Dexndre and kind of start listening to him as well. Now, I genuinely believe that in the next 2 years, if Dexndre continues making music, continues to grow his career in rap, I can pretty much guarantee that he will blow up. Maybe not necessarily to the point where Scarlxrd is right now in the next 2 years, but he's definitely gonna have a much larger following over the next couple of years. And if you've stumbled upon this video, chances are that you already listen to Scarlxrd because his name was in the title. And chances are that if you listen to Scarlxrd, you might want to start listening to Dexndre, because I'm pretty sure that he's gonna kind of be this up-and-coming new trap metal artist. Now, over these next couple years, I do pretty much expect Dexndre to kind of create this new sound for himself that will be so much different than Scarlxrd's. When that will happen, I am not entirely sure, but that is kind of the fate of any rapper. At first, they often sound like another rapper, and then over time, they create their own unique style and sound. But all in all, I really do think that he is just taking inspiration from Scarlxrd, not copying Scarlxrd through and through. If anything, I see Dexndre as this guy who's like, hey, I look up to Scarlxrd, I want to be like him. I see him as this sort of mentor. Now, Dexndre, if you happen to be watching this by any chance, comment down below. Let me know what you think about this, if you agree with me on these points, if you don't agree, if you understand the similarities, but you also understand that you are different or whatnot. And let me know whether or not you see Scarlxrd as your inspiration. And for everyone else watching this video, I want your thoughts down in the comments. Take a listen to both these artists and kind of let me know whether or not you think that Dexndre is just a clone or a copy of Scarlxrd. I definitely think that Dexndre has a ton of potential over these next couple years to grow his career and grow his rap following significantly. But with that, have a great rest of your day, guys. Peace.